If you're going to play a doubleheader, just play a doubleheader.
So if they play well enough, you could potentially see Notre Dame as an ACC champion.
I do think that Portland will end up leapfrogging the Grizzlies to capture that 8th seed. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of the Slightly Sideways Podcast, Episode 4. I'm your host, Koenig, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Corbin. Say hello to the people, Corbin.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody had a great week here. I've got the cooler with me as normal, ready to crack open some cold ones and get another show done for you people.
There we go. And so, speaking of cold ones, on my end here tonight, we're going with something a little bit different than last week, but still, a classic. I'm going with the Blue Moon tonight in the tall Blue Moon glass.
Ooh, very nice, very nice. Here on my end, I'm going American this week. I don't know, I felt pretty patriotic this week. Last week I had a Danish beer. I'm going with a classic. I'm going with Miller Lite.
Oh, man.
And that's Light, L-I-T-E, which you gotta love. So, yeah, I'll be rolling with some Miller Lights. I kind of warmed up before the show with 3 tall boys, so feeling a little good already, but it'll make for an entertaining show, hopefully.
That's what we like to see. So before we get into the topics, if you're not already following us on Twitter, give us a follow at Slightly Sideways. You'll get a notification every time we have a new episode. If you're on Facebook, you can follow us at Slightly Sideways Podcast. If you have any feedback or suggestions for the show, you can email us at slightlysidewayspod@gmail.com. And as always, our show will be uploaded to Spotify every Sunday. And as of 2 days ago, we're also on YouTube. No videos on the channel yet, but our on-demand video with some visual references. We have been getting some feedback on the show saying, hey, some of these topics you guys are talking about would be really helpful with a visual reference. That is in the works for you also. So stay tuned. You can follow us on YouTube at Slightly Sideways Podcast. Turn on that bell for all notifications, and you won't miss a single episode. On the show today, we have college football. We've got some baseball news, as always. When do we never? What else do we have on the show for them today, Corbin?
We're also going to be taking a dive into the NHL playoffs with the final 8 set for each conference, as well as the NBA playoffs. We had some play-in drama to go over, some heated opinions, I'm sure, from Koenig and myself, especially myself, being a Suns fan. And then, of course, we will end the show with the unknown section. This week, Koenig will be taking over the reins for the unknown, so you'll have to stick around and wait and see what his sick mind comes up with.
There you go. So we'll quickly transition into our first segment of the show regarding college football. College football in the news this week, like it has been in the spotlight in the sports world recently. Just this week, we have announced that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have decided to suspend their fall season. They will not have any games in the fall. Maybe they'll start up again in the spring and maybe not. And then the other 3 conferences in the Power 5, the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC, have announced that they intend on still holding a fall season. Corbin, given all of this news out of the college football season, what do you make of it?
It's been very, very strange for sure. The Big Ten, again, they were the first conference to announce no non-conference schedule, and then they were followed by the Pac-12. So it's kind of funny that the Big Ten says no to fall football, and right after that, the Pac-12 follows them. The other 3, though, the Big 12 and the ACC and the SEC, have kind of flexed their muscle, if you will, and said, no, we're still going to find a way to play this fall schedule. I think that this is a decision that all conferences should have gotten together, as far as Power 5 conferences, because they're more or less the ones who are dictating the power in college football. I feel like this should have been a communal agreement, because now you have some animosity between players in conferences that are not playing for players in conferences that are, and then you've got fans from one conference criticizing fans from the other one. It's not the fans' fault that this happened. I think it's really weird how we're split right now. I do understand that the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12 are hopeful that they're going to have a season. This is no guarantee that there is going to be a season. It's just a really weird limbo period right now where 2 dominoes have fallen and there's 3 remaining. Are those ones going to go down or not? We're kind of waiting and seeing.
As all these plans unfold from the conferences, it really makes me kind of wonder where the NCAA is in all this decision making. It seems like they're comfortable allowing the conferences to kind of make their own decisions. And I understand that there's a lot of money at play here. There's a lot of money at stake if a canceled season does go through. Obviously, Mark Emmert is trying to cash another paycheck, and having no fall sports seasons whatsoever, that's going to cost the NCAA a lot of money. But it kind of makes me wonder, like, doesn't the organization still have an obligation to do the right thing by their student athletes, to kind of try to take care of the athletes a little bit?
Yeah, I do commend the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. When it comes down to it, safety should be the biggest caution. And the Big Ten first, and then the Pac-12 following them, have been the conferences to say, look, this is just not safe for everybody involved. We're not just thinking about the athletes, we're thinking about the coaches, we're thinking about the staff, we're thinking about people who help and volunteer at the stadiums, potential fans, who knows if there's going to be fans or not. I kind of want to shake my head at these other three conferences that are still being so stubborn to think, oh, yeah, we can play this fall season still, no problem. Even though they've already come out and canceled their non-conference games, they've already insinuated that there is an issue, but they're still being stubborn to say, oh, we're going to make this happen. I'm hopeful that this is just well, we're just going to wait and see. And for now, we're going to keep this plan. I hope this is not a pride thing like, well, we're going to play no matter what because we're the SEC or we're the Big 12 and football is our life. Yeah, football or die. Like, that would be really disappointing if that was essentially the decision that was being made from these conferences because of the idea of that.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying in regards to that. I'm really looking at this from the standpoint of the NCAA. I really feel like President Mark Emmert is being spoon-fed this information from these so-called medical experts and everything like that. And yet we really don't see any of that information. Where is it? Why are they not being as transparent as possible with this scenario? You would think that they'd want the fans and the players and the coaches to have as much information about the season as we can. And so it's kind of like they're not taking a position on this. They're allowing conferences to make their own decisions. And they're also not providing any sort of information. But if it's safe to play, let people know like what that information is. If it's not safe, let us know that too. And that would maybe get some of these fans and players in these Power 5 conferences that are so gung-ho about playing, maybe they would back off of that standpoint a little bit if they had all the information.
Yeah, the NCAA is kind of a mess. They got a ton of backlash from the NCAA tournaments. People were freaking out that there wasn't going to be a March Madness tournament, and they all blamed the NCAA. And I think the NCAA is just trying to not have to make these like super, super tough decisions that impact everybody. They're kind of playing it safe by saying, hey, we're going to allow these conferences to make these decisions, these states and, you know, whatever areas these people are in. We're going to push it to them, which I get. Any decision that the NCAA makes these days is definitely under a microscope, and people will shred it or dissect it any which way that they want. As far as like, you know, the medical advice that the NCAA is getting, I'm sure they're getting it from every which way. There's some medical professions who say, yeah, it's safe to play. There's others that say, no, you're absolutely crazy if you try to play. So I think the NCAA is just kind of wiping their hands clean and saying, hey, look, we're going to leave the decision to your conferences. You guys make the decision. And if it's completely out of hand to the point where they need to make a decision, then they will. But until then, I think they're just going to keep sitting back on their heels.
So President Mark Emmert was actually on the record in a story earlier today, and someone asked him about the fact of why is the NCAA not taking a position on this, and why is the NCAA allowing the conferences to make their own decisions? And I was kind of befuddled by his answer. He kind of goes, well, that's the way it's always been. It's like, dude, that's a shitty answer. Like, these are unprecedented times. This is a time for leadership. This is a time for unity, like you were saying earlier. And this is a time for kind of the organization to kind of step in and make a policy that all conferences will abide by. And so when he's kind of just taken this like blasé sort of mentality behind everything, I just find that to just be such a huge lack of leadership on his perspective. Because I get that you want the conferences to run their own way, but also I think the NCAA could be really on the hook for a huge liability crisis if they allow the season to continue.
Yeah, and their lack of decision making has kind of created this current situation where half the Power Five are doing one thing, half the Power Five are doing the other thing, and there's still no real plan for these teams that are going to try to play these fall schedules. Are they going to have fans? Are they not going to have fans? It's just such a complicated thing that, yes, the NCAA, I think eventually the NCAA is going to have to just step in and make a universal decision. I think they're fearful for conferences like the SEC that have so much power, especially with college football and the money and the revenue that they make. So I don't think that they're super, super eager to go in and tell a conference like the SEC, hey, you can't play football games right now, where the SEC can say, oh, really? Well, screw you. We make 50% of all revenue for college football. Don't tell us what to do. The thing that drives me crazy about these conferences that are staying in right now is these areas, and the culture in these areas is, we need football. Like, football needs to happen no matter what. Like, we can't play no spring football. It has to be in the fall. They just don't care about safety, it seems like. They just care more about, oh, I need to see the Georgia Bulldogs out there playing Auburn Tigers. It's kind of ridiculous that our culture has been, we're more influenced by sport than we are for the overall health of everybody in our nation, which is kind of messed up. And I kind of feel like these communities and these fans and these conferences that are still hanging tough don't really care about the medical issues that are at hand or even acknowledge that they exist.
From my perspective, I don't think the NCAA should be in the business of gambling with student athletes' lives and potentially fans as well, because I think you and I both know if SEC has football in the fall, they're going to have fans in some capacity.
Of course, it might not be a full stadium, but they're still going to let in tens of thousands of fans.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they were dumb enough to be like, well, we're going to do half capacity and just sit like one seat away from each other.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you let in a quarter, so some of these SEC stadiums are 80,000, 90,000 people. So you're looking at potentially 20 to 25,000 people that you're letting in. And you're going to tell me that these fans aren't going to high five each other during games. They're just going to sit there and just clap to themselves. Like, there's no way.
Yeah. And, I get it. Like, I get people want football. And like we've said in previous episodes, sport brings us together. And we really need something to rally behind right now that's not like current events. And we won't get into that on this show, obviously. We want to stick to the sports as much as we can. But I think from the players' perspective, so many of them want to play, but I don't think the question is about a want. I think a lot of athletes want to play. The real question is, should they be playing? And I think, like I said before, you really have to consider from a liability perspective, especially one of these big-time athletes, no disrespect to the players who aren't going to be professional, but imagine if Trevor Lawrence came down with COVID and he had long-term lasting effects where he could now no longer be in a physical condition to play in the NFL. That's going to be a huge lawsuit. As much as he's been outspoken on his take regarding wanting to play and the views of the Power Five, I feel like if anything were to happen to one of these players who's due to make a big paycheck here in a year or so, that the NCAA is going to be on the hook for millions of dollars in compensation.
Now, I understand the players who want to play. I mean, they're college athletes. They've played this sport, you have to assume, for pretty much the entirety of their life since they can remember. But I feel like these athletes just feel like, oh, like it's not going to impact me, or I'm not going to impact anyone else. Like, this is fine. Like, I've been fine so far. So what is it going to matter if we play? As long as we test and we're okay. But it's not, like I said, there's going to be these schools in these bigger conferences that are going to let fans in. It's just going to happen. I can just feel it. I would be amazed. Unless the NCAA came down and said, hey, look, you can play fall football, no fans. I don't think that's going to happen because these schools are trying to make money. So they're going to let some fans in. And that's the thing, is I don't think these players really think it through. Like, yes, okay, maybe you would be safe playing on the field with each other, but like people who are coming to these events and tailgating and getting together, like this is the recipe for disaster. This is how things got so terrible. I don't think they think that through, and I think it's pretty selfish of them. If they're NFL prospects, they can sit the season out, and the NFL is going to understand, and they're going to draft them based on their previous year's performance. And if they're good enough, they'll get drafted. So I don't want to hear the argument of like, oh, well, I need to play to like improve my draft stock. The NFL knows. They know the talent out there. You'll still have combines and things like that, so you'll still have chances to improve your draft stock. It's not a necessary thing that you have to play a fall season.
Yeah, and I think there's still an opportunity for the players who want to finish out their collegiate careers. I think given everything that's going on, the NCAA can easily just give everybody an extra year of eligibility. Obviously, if you want to shut down the season in order to protect the safety and welfare of your players, I think the only reasonable thing to do at that point is to give them that extra year of eligibility. If you want to declare for the draft, you're more than welcome to declare for the draft. But if you would prefer to come back to school and finish out your collegiate career like so many players want to do, then you're more than welcome to have that extra year of eligibility and you can still do that. So I think that there are options for the NCAA to consider. And I think that this whole situation needs to be handled in order to protect the players.
I think ultimately they will come out with that plan as far as allowing an extra year of eligibility. I think what's going to be interesting, though, is how they're going to do it, because if you think of it this way, so say a player is a true freshman and he played this past season, and then this next year he would technically he'd be a sophomore, but then we go into the season whenever it happens. Technically, he's been at school for 3 years, but he's a sophomore because that's the current rule. You have to be in school for 3 years. So you could be a redshirt sophomore and you could still declare for the NFL draft. So I'm curious to see what the NCAA decision would possibly be. Are they going to let that same rule fly? Like, hey, as long as you're at school for 3 years, you can come out. So technically, you could be a true sophomore, if you will, but you will have been at school for 3 years. If there is a missed season, will they let players come out? Or is it going to be 3 seasons played? Because technically, that year in the middle would kind of be like a red shirt, if you will. So we'll kind of see how that shapes out. But I think that's what's going to happen ultimately if these conferences shut down, which they already are. I think the NCAA needs to come out and have those rules available for these athletes to make them more comfortable. All right, so we want to go ahead and roll into our next segment here. We're going to be going into Major League Baseball. A couple incidents have happened in Major League Baseball here as far as a player team incident, as well as more delayed games. As far as the delayed games go, Koenig, do you want to give a little insight on what's happening on the MLB front?
For the St. Louis Cardinals, they're kind of the example, I guess, in the league of a team that has been severely affected by the outbreak. The Cardinals, through Thursday, they had a doubleheader against the Tigers that was postponed. And through Thursday's games, the Cardinals have played 5 games and they've had 15 games canceled or postponed. That's already a quarter of their season where they've already canceled their games. And so it kind of got me to thinking, what's the way forward here for Major League Baseball? How many more games can the Cardinals have canceled before the league has to step in and take some additional measures here?
Major League Baseball is just becoming so much of a joke in my eyes. They're just so badly wanting this season to happen and force this season, and they're just dragging this through the mud, and they're hitting speed bump after speed bump after speed bump, and they're in a low riding limo, and they're just gutting the bottom of this car that is this season. And I just don't know when enough is going to be enough. When one of your teams had to reschedule 75% of their games already, and that's affecting other teams that they can't play because they're not available to. There's also player incidents that are going on right now, which we'll get into another one here in just a second. As a baseball fan, and this even stems back from last year when the whole cheating scandal came out with the Astros, and Major League Baseball essentially did nothing as far as the player front. They were just like, okay, well, it happened, and yeah, we'll make an example of like the team by giving them draft pick penalties. But the players got unpunished, and now you're having this situation right now where just everywhere you turn, stuff is getting messed up.
I think for the Cardinals specifically, I really think it's time for the league, if you're going to go full steam ahead with the season, because it sounds like Manfred is come hell or high water, we're finishing this fucking season. Regardless of what's going on with the Marlins and the Cardinals, like, we're playing all of our games, we're going to do this. And it's like, okay, dude, then you got to do something about this. The Cardinals just need to be disqualified from the 2020 season, in my eyes.
I feel like that's an impossibility, though. If they would have come out when the season started and said, hey, look, if your teams aren't safe with this and you have X amount of cases or you have X amount of games that you miss, that's it, you're GQ'd. We have a backup plan where your division will play whatever teams that are left over X amount more times to make up for those games. But they didn't do that. They just kind of were just like, oh, well, we're just going to play this season and if games get delayed, we'll just have to reschedule this and figure it out as we go. So I don't think it would be fair to a team like the Cardinals. I'm kind of pissed off that they keep fucking up. But there was no precedent set like, hey, you need to be mindful of this because if this happens in the season, we're pulling you out and that's it. You're done. And that's why this is just such a mess, is that it just continues to get worse. And it's just like, what's going to happen next week? It's just like a never-ending horror story.
I will say, to the league's credit, most of the teams are doing okay. You have maybe a positive test here and there, but I think the teams who are overall successful are doing a good job at quarantining their players and abiding by the league's policies and their safety measures. It seems like the only news that I've seen has been in Miami and St. Louis, but who knows, especially with all the travel, right?
Well, and you know what is really unfair to other teams is when they're making these games up, these other teams who have been safe have to play these double headers. So you've got starting players who have to play baseball pretty much for the entire day, which has just got to be exhausting. You have to think that they're not at 100% for these double header games. With the way that the Cardinals are going, they're going to have to play double header games every other day. So are you going to play 6-8 baseball games in 3-4 days? It's not fair to other teams.
Right, absolutely. And that was kind of the point that I was thinking about, and you actually raised it before I could. But I was asking myself, how many games into the season will St. Louis cancel baseball games before the league decides that it's not feasible to play that many doubleheaders? Are the Cardinals going to cancel 30 games? 40 games? How deep into the season are we going to go? And like you said, these games are going to have to be made up at some point. And if you want the league to end more or less on the same time for the postseason, that's a lot of doubleheaders that are going to have to be played. And so it kind of, at some point with the Cardinals specifically, because they're the team that's kind of in the middle of all this, there's got to be a cutoff point where it's like, dude, if you guys can't get it together, we have to move on.
It's just, I don't know what to expect. Like, when we're talking about this, it makes sense right now, but it's just a wait and see. Like, what's the next train wreck going to be? And how can baseball dig a hole deeper than it already has? And every week it's deeper and deeper. And yet again, we have another incident with guess what team? The Houston Astros.
America's favorite team to hate.
Kaney, do you want to kind of go over the situation at hand and kind of give me your initial thoughts?
Yeah, so I'll kind of give you the breakdown here of the Astros and Athletics series. In the third game of the series, Ramon Laureano is hit by the pitch. Keep in mind, this is his third time being hit by the pitch in this series, twice by pitcher Humberto Castellanos of the Houston Astros.
and so I mean to jump in, and once by the guy who they actually traded for Laureano. So that's kind of important.
Absolutely. And so on the final hit by pitch, the third instance of the series, Laureano takes the pitch, it drills him obviously, and he's walking down the first baseline trying to like show Castellanos how to like break his wrist to throw the slider. And so I'm laughing watching this back on YouTube because I'm like, imagine that, the dude wearing number 72 as a pitcher, Castellanos has no control on the mound, go figure. But the Astros bench apparently takes exception to Laureano kind of showing the pitcher how to throw the baseball. And now you have hitting coach Alex Cintrone barking God knows what at Laureano. And you see Cintrone at the top step of the dugout kind of giving him this hand gesture like, come get a piece of this ass. And Laureano goes to get a piece of his ass, and he charges the Astros dugout. Well, right away, the benches start to clear. You have Dustin Gourneau of the Astros meets him before he gets to the hitting coach. He makes a really nice open field tackle.
Oh, great tackle.
Yeah, maybe the Texans
NFL
could try him out at linebacker
status.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this whole situation blows up. There's brawling all over the field. And Corbin, just right where we're at right now, what do you make of this whole situation?
The choice words that come to mind are a fucking disaster. I honestly believe that the Astros should have been DQ'd from the season right there. You know what? We've had incidents already in the past with your team. You already know that you're on the hot seat from what you guys fucking did in years past. Laureano when he was walking down to first, was as calm as a cucumber. He was very casually just saying, hey, dude, like, you're not trying to curve your slider. You're pretty much throwing a slider with no slide right into me. So he's pretty much saying, like, hey, dude, either you're trying to do this on purpose or, like, you're a terrible pitcher. Like, which is it, you know?
Yeah.
And after being hit 3 times, and I think a really good point is there was a former Oakland Athletics player, and you'll have to excuse me, his name is escaping me because I'm drinking over here, but he had tweeted to the second pitcher who hit Laureano was the guy the two teams traded for. So Laureano went to the A's. This guy went to the Houston Astros. So before the second pitcher hit Laureano, there was a tweet the day before, and this analyst or whoever it was for the Oakland A's had tweeted out saying, how the hell did we get so lucky in this trade? Like, we got this outstanding player and they got this bum. Like, and so that like clearly started something, because the second guy plunked him hard and good, and you can tell he plunked him on purpose. But again, MLB is a bunch of fucking, I'm going to be a little, I had a choice of words I really wanted to use there. I already dropped the F-bomb. MLB has just been so spineless, and umpires and front office people, the guy gets hit 3 times, and even then there's no ejections, there's nothing, and he's calmly walking down to first base, and some idiot Alex Cintron, some nobody who used to play for the Diamondbacks who sucked, is barking God knows what, while Laureano is just casually just trying to get down to first base. He's not really ruffling any feathers from what you can see from the replay. And then Alex Cintron is the guy who makes the move to Laureano. He like lunges forward at him, kind of like a bring it on, man. Like, come on, come get some. Yeah. And Laureano, I mean, let's face it, everybody hates the Astros, but especially a team like the Oakland A's, when you're interdivision rival, is just like, all right, man, you want it? Fine, I'm going to come for you. Completely instigated by Houston, hitting the dude 3 times. I will admit that the first time he got hit, it looked like it got away. Like it looked like a fastball that just kind of missed the zone, and it kind of plunked him on the elbow. So I'm not going to say the first time he got hit was on purpose, but the other 2 sure damn looked like it. Mm-hmm. And yes, Alex Cintron got a 20-game suspension, which should be the whole rest of the season, if not more into next year. Yeah. And I understand Laureano has to get a suspension because he did charge and instigate the contact. Well, I mean, not really, because it was more Alex Cintron who was like, come on, dude, let's go. Laureano gets the 5-game suspension. Again, nothing besides that. It doesn't seem like anything's going to happen between this. It's just another incident where Major League Baseball is just going to try to slap people on the wrist and move on.
Yeah. My first instinct watching this in real time is I was kind of like, what kind of got into Laureano? Because he was so calm and cool and collected, taking his stroll down to first base, giving Humberto Castellanos his pitching lesson. And then before you know it, he's hauling ass towards the Astros dugout. And, you know, there's some allegations of Cintron said this, Laureano said that. At the end of the day, my whole stance changed to Alex Cintron, you're a fucking professional coach of a Major League Baseball organization. The last
starting
thing,
shit with opposing players.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing you need to be doing is egging players on to brawl, especially in a COVID climate where we're trying to avoid interaction with other players. And you got this hot shot at the top step of the dugout giving him, you know, the come get some of this. And so I was extremely disappointed in Cintron's handling of the situation. Did Laureano have to charge the dugout? No, he easily could have just barked back at him, and that would have been the end of it. So I understand why Laureano gets the 4 games and a fine. But kudos to the league for giving Cintron 20 games. I do think that it was a little bit light. Like I said, they're a coach for a professional organization. I think he needs to handle himself with a little bit more class.
One more note on that for me. What I absolutely love about that situation is Cintron says, let's go. Like, let's make this happen. You know, come on, bring it, bro. And, of course, actual players step in front and they try to tackle him, set him aside. Cintron, like a wimp, just sits back and is just like standing there, like behind like the iron curtain of Houston players, and is just kind of just standing there all la-di-da, like, dude, what? Come on, man. Like, you can't instigate that and then just sit back while, you know, all your players do the dirty work for you. And it was just so like, just so wimpish, dude.
Yeah.
Like, come on. If you're gonna instigate that, like, at least back it up, dude. Don't be a freaking wimp and just, oh, I'm just gonna hang back here now that he got tackled. I'm just gonna stand back here. Like, dude, this is all your fault, dude. And oh, what a disaster.
Yeah, I was extremely disappointed. I thought for sure once Laureano went in, I thought he would charge back, but he really like backed off, and like Dustin Gourneau got out in front of everybody. Really nice tackle, by the way. But it's a disaster. You guys in Major League Baseball need to get it under control, man. Like,
yes,
you can't be
stay
having
tuned.
this.
Stay tuned for the never-ending dumpster fire that is Major League Baseball. It's actually, I mean, I'm a sports fan, so I enjoy baseball, but it's really starting to deter me from this season. Like, it's even to like watch Mets games, like just the affiliation with Major League Baseball, it's just got such a sour taste in my mouth. It's not making me a happy camper.
I don't disagree, and I mean, it's not like the games are super exciting to watch anyways. Granted, the Red Sox are kind of in the tank. They really suck this year. But, I mean, aside from that, like, you know, they're pumping in crowd noise, and it's so hokey. It just, I don't know. It's just like they're forcing the season, like Corbin said earlier, they're forcing the season so hard, cramming it down our throats, whether we want it or not at this point. And I'm just I'm over it.
If they finish this season and there is a World Series champion, I feel so bad for them because I'm forever going to discredit this season. I don't care who wins the World Series. I don't care if the Mets miraculously make the playoffs and win the World Series. I'm not going to count that as a World Series championship. I'm just not. So moving along, because I'm already very angry and heated, we'll go into NHL playoffs, which will further incite my anger, and then we'll cap up with basketball, which will really set me off.
It's a great show for Corbin this week.
Yeah. As you can tell, I'm very lively this week because I've been on the shit end of the stick as far as my favorite teams. But all right, so we're going to go ahead and move along into NHL now here. So as it sits right now, we have all 8 teams per conference for the playoffs. So all the play-in series are done. All the round robin series are done. So we have our 8 and 8. Right now, as far as the matchups go, we have Las Vegas Golden Knights playing the Chicago Blackhawks. That series currently is 2-0 Vegas, so they're 2 wins away from that series being over. The Colorado Avalanche are playing the Arizona Coyotes. That series is also 2-0 with Colorado in advantage. We have Vancouver versus St. Louis with Vancouver up 2-0. That's a pretty big story, factoring in that St. Louis was the best team in the West before the shutdown, and they have yet to win a game this year. We'll discuss that here in just a second. I just want to kind of get through the layout here, and then we'll kind of dissect what we've seen so far. Dallas is playing Calgary. That series is tied 1-1. Philadelphia is playing Montreal. That series is also 1-1. We have Tampa Bay and Columbus, again, 1-1. And Boston and Carolina, also 1-1. And then currently right now, the Islanders and Washington, they are 1-0 Islanders, but they are currently playing right now, but there hasn't been a result in that game. So that's the current breakdown right now. Koenig, kind of your initial opinion on the game so far.
It's been crazy. We said on last week's show we were pleasantly surprised that you have that enhancement to the NHL playoffs. The players kind of take it up another level for the playoffs, and this is no different this year. Even without fans, unfortunately, Tuukka had some remarks after Game 2 that I didn't exactly appreciate, and I think some Bruins fans will back me up on this. Tuukka was kind of making comments about how without fans, it just doesn't feel like the postseason. And I'm sitting here like, dude, if you can't step it up for the postseason, then your ass can sit on the bench as far as I'm concerned. They can start Jarl Halak.
I feel like that's just an excuse for him if the Bruins were to flame out. Because I think they have their hands full with Carolina. I think it's going to be a tough series for any team to win that series. And I think that's just him playing his card of, oh, well, if we lose, like, we were clearly the best team when the shutdown happened, and now that we're in this completely different atmosphere, that's why, which is kind of lame.
I just didn't like his attitude about it. I was like, yeah, you know, there's no fans. They can't chant, you know, Took after every good save you make. But, like, get the fuck over it, dude. It's the playoffs. if you can't get your game in order for the playoffs, then you should be playing. But anyways, I'll get away from the Bruins for a quick second. In the Columbus Blue Jackets and Tampa Bay Lightning series, 5 overtimes in Game 1. So many overtimes, in fact, that the Bruins and the Hurricanes, who were scheduled to go on after that game, got postponed to the following morning, which is obviously unprecedented. So what was your thought about the 5 overtime game?
Absolutely insane. I actually think it was overdone. And like you said, the reason being, it was delaying other games from happening. The players were absolutely gassed. I mean, they were giving it their all. Credit to the players. That's playing 2.5 games essentially, all in one. We had the Columbus Blue Jackets goaltender setting an NHL playoffs record with 85 saves. You heard that right, 85.
That's insane.
5.
Yeah.
If they would have gone to another period, he would have had a shot at 100 saves, which is just unbelievable. If you face half of that, that's an incredible game for you. As long as you're keeping your team in it, which he was. But I liked it because it was so different. But I also kind of felt bad for the players, not only who were playing, but the players who got delayed in the game that had to get pushed to the next day. With that in mind, Koenig, do you think that the NHL is going to look at this for future games and come up with a different solution? Like, how many overtimes is too much? Or do you think they're just going to keep rolling with it? Or do you think that they should do the greatest thing that is in hockey and play some 3-on-3 overtime after an overtime or two?
Yeah, I think they're going to take a look at it. As much as I don't want them to, I personally think the concept of continuous overtime is one of the most exciting things in all of sports, because the game can end at any second and yet nobody knows when it's going to end. I think that's just such a fascinating aspect of playoff hockey in particular. However, I do think that the league is going to look at it and say, okay, how many overtimes is too many overtimes, especially when the period length is not limited. They're playing 20-minute periods like a standard period of hockey, and it's drawn out over all these different overtimes. Maybe it's something as simple as reducing the length of the overtime period and say, hey, we're going to play 10-minute periods in overtime in the playoffs instead of 20. Who knows if that's relevant or if that even helps, but I hope they don't change it because I think that aspect of playoff hockey is fantastic. But Corbin, what do you think about it?
I think with the current format, as we saw with the Columbus game, player safety factors in. When you're playing that many periods continuously, there's a lot more chance of injury, muscle strains, muscle pulls, you name it. There's just higher risk for injury. Players are more tired. They're not with it. They're fatigued, more likely to have accidents on the ice. That's what concerns me. It would be really awful for a situation like that where a star player goes down for some freak accident because they just don't have the juice in them and they're out for the series or they're out for however many games and it affects the series. So I think that's something to look at. I would be okay with 2 overtimes, and I even think that second overtime would be kind of a stretch. But I think anything after 2 overtimes, just for player safety purposes and for fan excitement, 3-on-3, baby. That's what they do in the regular season. Everybody loves it. Create more ice space, less guys on the ice, more guys that can take a break, so guys won't be as fatigued when they're out there skating around, so you'll have more chances to have something happen. The Columbus goaltender had 85 saves, but honestly, a lot of those shots in those third, fourth, fifth overtime were these lame ducks that were just getting flicked. I wouldn't even say shot, they were just getting flicked on net. And credit to him, credit to both goalies. They made the saves that they needed to throughout those overtimes, but they weren't seeing like NHL caliber shots.
Yeah, by the end of the game, it was really just like a war of attrition. It was really just the last man standing. And I guess credit to Tampa Bay. You did what you couldn't do in 4 games last year. It only took you 2.5 periods of hockey to get there. But hey, good job, Lightning. You finally beat the Blue Jackets. Congratulations. Breaking into some of the other series, you mentioned the Blues earlier. I'm so surprised that the Blues still haven't gotten it together. Like, Binnington has been so off. He only made 17 saves on 22 shots in the first game against the Canucks, which is a very low save percentage. And the Canucks, to their credit, they've been playing very, very well in the second half of the season, and especially since the restart. If there was a clear-cut favorite, and I'm not just saying this because of the way that the series are right now, the Golden Knights and the Avalanche are playing very well right now. Vegas is beating up on the Blackhawks, who I thought would do much better in that series, given the veteran presence that managed to win their qualifying round games. And Colorado just looks like they're on another level. I mean, I know, Corbin, you're going to not like this so much, but they look far and away one of the best teams in the league right now.
They have looked good. I don't think they're as great as people are hyping them right now. Reason being, the first game against the Coyotes played one of the worst hockey games that I've seen all year. So, and it took Colorado until 6 minutes left in the third period to score their first goal, albeit they were able to score 3 goals in a minute and a half. So, credit to them. But it's not like they blew the Coyotes out of that game. Yes, they had a lot more shot attempts than the Coyotes did, but the Coyotes were just not up to snuff in game one. And in game two, the Coyotes lost 3-2. The third goal that Colorado scored was on a really, really bizarre ricochet. I don't really want to go into the details of how it happened because it's a little confusing unless you see it. So I would just recommend people to YouTube Colorado, Arizona ricochet goal. Just a freak play, and it happened to land on the stick of a Colorado player who was right in front of an open net, and he just kind of flicked it in. So kind of bad luck there for the Coyotes, who were playing really, really well. So yes, Colorado's up 2-0, but they haven't been like super, super dominant. But yes, they definitely have the ability to play extremely well when they are clicking.
And I do think that certain teams are still finding their legs. Even if you're down 2-0 in the series, I don't think it's fair to say, you're down and out. I think it's still early. It was a qualifying round and you're talking about a best of 5. Obviously, it's a much, much different story. But in a 7-game series, they had that concept back when we were still playing home and away games. The series doesn't start until a road team wins. Well, it's kind of the same way, even though we're not playing home and away games. I think just because Colorado held serve and they won those first 2 games doesn't necessarily mean the Coyotes are out of it. I thought they played a lot better in the second game. I mean, I don't know if you could play any worse than they did in the first game. But they did play.
You can't.
Yeah.
They had 12 shots on goal in the first game.
Yeah.
12.
Exactly. They're going to game plan. They're going to find a way. They're professionals. They'll find a way. They've got some good scores. Obviously, they have Taylor Hall and they got Phil Kessel. And you got a great goalie that'll keep you in games. So I'm not ready to rule the Coyotes out. And I think that they definitely still have a shot. However, Colorado, they do look like a well-oiled machine right now. I will say that.
Yeah, the Coyotes have their order in front of them, and it is tall. But they do have, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best goalies in the league. I think he is the best when he plays as well as he can. So we'll just see. They're going to have to get game 3. If they go down 3-0, they're going to be in trouble. We'll just kind of see how that lays out. Moving right along, the most exciting news that's happened, at least from the Twitter sphere and from people on the interwebs, has been the NBA playoffs. We have our 2 play-in teams in the Western Conference. I was one shot from getting my 2 teams right in the correct order. One shot. But Koenig, do you want to give a little tidbit on where we sit as far as the NBA playoffs?
It was an exciting close to the season. Going into that last game of the year, we had the Trailblazers playing the Brooklyn Nets. You had the Suns playing the Mavericks. And I honestly, the Suns did what they had to do. They won their game. They went 8-0 in the bubble. And I mean, tip of the hat to the Phoenix Suns. They proved a lot of doubters wrong. I think it shows where that team could potentially be next season when all their players are healthy. They're looking like they're ready to go. And I know, Corbin, you mentioned this to me earlier, how badly the Suns might have missed Ayton the first 25 games of the year, how badly that affected the outcome of their season. But I thought that the Trailblazers had no chance losing to the Nets. And credit to Brooklyn, they took them all the way to the very end. I thought for sure that at one point Brooklyn was up by 10 in the third quarter. I think they're up by 7 going into the fourth quarter. And we were all kind of just sitting on the edge of our seat like, oh, man. I knew it was just a matter of time before Damian Lillard kind of took over the game, and that's just what he does. He's a fantastic player. Corbin, what were your thoughts?
Oh, man, I was pissed off. I'm more pissed off at the Nets. Just being a Suns fan, I'm going to be biased here. The Nets had that game. The Nets should have won that game. Yes, Damian Lillard put in, 40-something points, how many points he put in. He does that every game. He's good between 30 and 40 points, sometimes 50. Hell, I think he scored 60 points in a game in this restart. But, yeah, the Nets, they had the Trailblazers had a steal against them in the last minute, which led to a 2-point basket for the Trailblazers. And then, again, the Nets had the final shot to win the game. Some people will say it was a good look. I don't think it was the greatest shot selection. But they had a look to win it, a decent jumper, and they clanked it, and obviously the Trailblazers won the game. I don't think the Trailblazers are as good as people are saying. There's so many people out there who are like, oh, this team can beat the Lakers. Like, I would be blown away if the Trailblazers won one game against the Lakers. I firmly believe that. This Trailblazers team plays absolutely zero defense. They have no answer for a big man down low. You're going to tell me that they're going to somehow figure out Anthony Davis and LeBron James? They still have to beat Memphis, who is the 9 seed right now. So they have to beat Memphis once. Memphis has to beat them twice to officially get that 8 seed. I do think Portland will win one of those 2 games because I don't think Memphis is very good either. Memphis was a total disaster in this restart. They pretty much did everything that they could to not make the playoffs. Unfortunately for a team like the Suns, who started last, as far as teams that were available in the West, the Suns were last. All they could do was go 8-0, and they went 8-0. They did what they had to do. They won their games, and they won comfortably. There was one game that was a last-second shot against the Clippers, who are the number 2 seed in the West, that they won. All the other games, the Suns easily took care of their opponent. So it sucks. Like I said, I was one shot away from my prediction being exactly right with Memphis at the 8 and the Suns at the 9. The freaking Nets, man. The freaking Nets.
I definitely felt bad for you. I knew you were a Suns fan going in. I did pick Portland. It's an interesting concept going into the play-in game. I am going to stick with picking Portland. Like you said, I do think they'll win one out of those 2 games. I think Memphis missing Jaren Jackson Jr. after he tore his meniscus just over a week ago against the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a huge piece missing from that team. And I just think that Portland, I know that you're not super big on the Trailblazers. They don't play a lick of defense, like everybody knows that, but I feel like they can put up enough points to hang with the Lakers. I don't think they'll win the series, but I do think that they have enough firepower offensively to keep up with the Lakers' ability to score.
They had to score 130-something odd points to beat the Nets. You think they're going to score 130 points against the Lakers? No way.
I don't know. I honestly, like I said, I don't think they'll beat the Lakers. I don't think I'll go so far to say they won't win a single game. I think they definitely could. But as far as the bubble tournament, Lillard was up there with some of the best. Take Damian Lillard, take Devin Booker, whichever player you want to select for player of the tournament. I think you're probably correct. Both of them were outstanding. Obviously, Devin Booker kind of led the way for the Suns, leading them to that 8-0 finish. I wish they would have found a way to get in to have a chance to earn that spot in the playoffs, because the Suns played so well in the bubble and the Grizzlies did not at all.
I'm convinced that the Suns would have beat either of those teams twice. It didn't matter who they were matching up with that 9-8 matchup. I thought they would take care of either of those teams.
I think both of us will go ahead and select the Trailblazers in that play-in game. I think it's the first game is tomorrow on Saturday.
Yes, yeah.
So
could be the only game. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they might have another one on Sunday. You never know. But I just don't see a scenario where the Grizzlies get through that game. Like I said, missing the player that they are missing, one of the biggest players. Obviously, Ja Morant is their best player.
Well, yeah, one thing I want to mention real quick, and I hate to harp on the Suns, but being a Phoenician and being a lifelong Suns fan, it's been really, really bad for the last decade. And even people who aren't even fans of the NBA know that. Like, they've just been a very, very bad franchise. And yes, they missed out on the playoffs, but it's a nice feeling to know that the Suns have kind of set that precedent for next season. Like, hey, we have the tools to get this together, and you've seen it. And we have young players. We can play well. Like, they're going to have that confidence, and they've shown the league, like, we're not a joke anymore. Like, you don't look at Phoenix on your schedule and rest your players and still come away with a double-digit win. Like, this is not going to be an easy out, if you will, going forward. So I am very, very excited as far as what they did and going forward.
Yeah, I think you have fair reason to be optimistic about the future in Phoenix. Like I said earlier, Ayton does miss the first 25 games of the season with that suspension. The Suns, I think, are in a much different scenario had he played an entire season. But I think, to your point, the Suns it's been a rebuild over the last few years, and I do think that the Suns now have those pieces in place to at least be competitive in the Western Conference going forward.
We'll get away from the Phoenix Suns talk. It's just a touchy subject here, but also relevant. I mean, it was a very big topic as far as who was going to get that final 9th play-in spot, and there was really 3 teams that were in the running there. Unfortunately for my team, they were odd man out. But, Koenig, as far as teams that are remaining in the East and West, Do you have a favorite who you like from each conference as far as meeting in the finals?
I'll do the Western Conference first. I think that we are destined to have this all Los Angeles Western Conference final, as much as I hate to admit that. I think the NBA and the league office and everything has been so hot to trot, especially about promoting these LA teams. And they are the number 1 and 2 seeds in the conference, and deservedly so. I do think I'm going to go with the Clippers. I am just a big believer in Kawhi. I think he kind of just is one of those players who wins wherever he goes. I also think that the Clippers play a much tougher style of defense with Kawhi, obviously. Paul George plays great defense too. And then Patrick Beverley, I think, is kind of an underrated defensive point guard in that system. But I will pick the Clippers out of the West. And as much as I'd like to say the Celtics in the East, I will take the Bucks. I think, with Giannis healthy and that team, he could literally put the team on his back and they could go all the way to winning a championship. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Corbin.
Yeah, so I'll stick in the Eastern Conference here because I am going to agree with you with the Bucks. The two main reasons, I mean, clearly LeBron James is out of the East, so they don't have to worry about the Cavs. And Kawhi is out of Toronto, so they don't have to worry about the Raptors. I don't think the Celtics quite have it together right now. I think this is finally the year that the Bucks get through to the finals, which very exciting. Most people will argue that Giannis could be the best player in the league right now. I believe that. I think he is the best player in the league. It's up for your opinion. But as far as the Western Conference goes, though, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk. I feel like everybody is looking at the LA teams like you mentioned. But I think that one team that when they play really, really well, they're really, really tough to beat. And they can play inside, they can play outside, they play great defense, is the Denver Nuggets.
Really? Okay.
The Denver Nuggets sitting in the 3rd seed right now, kind of a team they've kind of had their moments where they've played really, really, really good. And then there's been little blurps in their season where they've kind of, I don't know, stepped back a little bit. The Lakers haven't been too impressive in the restart. Neither really have the Clippers. I think with the current mojo, the vibe that's going on with these teams that have played so far and kind of what I've seen, I'm going to take the Nuggets there. So I'm going to take Nuggets and Bucks in the finals.
Awesome. Yeah, that's an interesting pick. I definitely wasn't going to expect the Nuggets. I think they're definitely a sleeper more so than anything else. No one's really expecting much from Denver.
It's tough to call a 3 seed a sleeper, though. In a sense, they are, because I think everybody is expecting the Lakers and some people are expecting the Clippers, and only I am expecting the Nuggets. So we'll see how it plays out. I think I don't think that the LA teams are just going to roll their way to the Western Conference Finals. I think one of those LA teams is going to trip up, and I think one of them will be in the Western Conference Finals, but I don't think they're going to be paired against each other.
Okay. And with the NBA, you never know, especially with the way that this is all played out. A hot team could make a run, and it's all about staying healthy in the postseason, too. Sometimes you get these freak injuries, and you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I think that's what's so captivating as sports fans. We're so interested in how these postseason formats play out. It could be anybody this year that can make a run for the championship. We'll just have to stay tuned. The NBA playoffs do start on Monday, August the 17th. And stick right here to the channel. We'll have more NBA news as it unfolds. We are now going to enter into our final segment of the show. This is the segment that we like to call The Unknown.
Ooh, the unknown, the unknown, the unknown.
And so Corbin had a run at me a couple weeks in a row on The Unknown, and I didn't do particularly well. But it's now my turn to return the favor, and I thought of something that is a little diabolical, but I think we'll be okay. We're going to play a little bit of over or under. So Corbin is a big numbers guy. I know he's a big numbers guy, and he's also a big trivia guy. And so I thought, what better way to test both of those things with over under? And so I've come up with 10 over or under questions, and all he has to do is tell me whether the true number is over or under the number that I give him.
Oh, God. So it seems so easy in theory, but I can only imagine what you're going to ask me.
I mean, you got a 50-50 chance of being right, so.
That's true.
I think the fair thing would be if he gets 5 right and 5 wrong, we'll both take a shot. And if he gets more than half right, I'll take a shot. And if he doesn't get more than half, he'll take a shot. What do you say to that?
Well, here, I'll actually do you one better because I actually didn't pack some hard alcohol in the Coleman cooler. but I do have a fully loaded beer that I will chug. You can even see it's not even opened yet.
Okay.
I will chug this if I lose.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay,
Okay, so we will dive right into the first over or under question. Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
We are talking official dog breeds of the American Kennel Club.
Oh my God.
Is it over?
I'm just going to drink this beer now.
Is it over or under 101 official dog breeds?
Oh, it's got to be over. There's so many freaking dog breeds. Only in America. Wait, is this dog breeds that are recognized in America, or these are only like American dog breeds? Like you can only really find them in America.
So they're official breeds that are recognized by the American Kennel Club.
Oh, I gotta say it's gotta be way over. I gotta think there's gotta be like several hundreds, maybe even thousands of breeds out there. I'm gonna say higher.
It is true. It is over 101. It's actually, the actual number is 177.
Oh shit. Okay, not as much as I thought, but I thought it was gonna be a lot higher. I thought it was gonna be like, I don't know. There's so many dog breeds out there, and they're creating new ones every day. They're Labradoodles and a bulldog and a Shih Tzu. We called it a bullshit.
All right, so far Corbin is 1 for 1. So far, so good. The next over/under question, we're talking Hard Rock Cafe locations worldwide.
Worldwide. Oh my God.
Is it over or under 105?
Oh shit. I have a friend who actually, his thing is he goes to the Hard Rock locations and gets the Hard Rock pins because I guess they're different for every city. So he's got a little nerdy booklet where he's got all the pins in them. Oh man, he's got a lot. You said it was 105?
Over under 105 worldwide Hard Rock locations.
Oh shit. Okay, so I'm just thinking United States, and I know that there's some obscure states that probably don't have them, but more or less just the U.S. alone, would there be 2 within each U.S. state? Not to mention the world, right? So there's obviously worldwide locations. I'm going to say over. I think it's got to be higher.
Is that your final answer?
Oh, hell yeah.
It is over. It is
oh, yeah.
175 Hard Rock locations.
Oh, that was okay. Yeah.
Quite a few.
Okay, so yeah, so I was just trying to base my answer off of domestic, but then obviously I know that there's worldwide locations because I know there's ones in like Rio de Janeiro and like Tokyo and all the big major cities. So
right.
Okay.
So,
2 for 2.
Yeah,
I like that.
So far so good. You're doing really well.
This is a Hall of Fame. I'm the best hitter in the history of baseball right now. Can I just retire or do I have to keep going?
You'll have to finish, but so far so good. You're doing pretty well.
So do I have to get over 5 or do I have to get 5 or higher?
You have to get over 5. If we both get 5, we're both drinking.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay. So this one, question number 3. The number of times the word Canada appears in the Canadian national anthem, O Canada.
Oh, son of a... Okay. What's the number?
Is it over or under 6?
Oh, Canada,
don't sing the song.
our home and native land, true something, and all that's good. I think it's under. I think they only say it like, wait, hold on. Yeah, it's under. They don't really say it a whole lot. I think they only say it like 2 or 3 times.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
It is under. It is under 6. It's 4 times.
Oh yeah.
All right.
They say it a couple times in the middle and then a couple times at the end. But in the beginning they say it a couple times. At the end they say it a couple times. But in the middle it's just a bunch of filler.
So Corbin is proving me right in the fact that he's great at trivia and numbers. He's absolutely dominating me.
So the reason I kind of knew that a little bit, well, I didn't really know it. I made an educated guess, but whenever a Canadian team comes and plays the Coyotes, I like to go because I like to listen to the Canadian national anthem, which is really bizarre. I don't know why, but it's just cool to me to hear both national anthems because the Canadian team comes in. So I go to a lot of games where they're playing Canadian teams, so I hear that song enough to kind of know a little bit about it.
Yeah. No, so to your credit, you're 3 for 3, so you're doing really well. I think I'm going to be owing a shot here momentarily.
Oh, yeah.
So this is a U.S. geography question. Are you ready?
Oh, this is my specialty.
I know. Okay. So, over under question number 4. United States states that border Canada. Is it over or under 9?
Oh, shit. Okay. So we've got Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Michigan. Oh, fuck. I don't know if Ohio does or not. Ohio. Oh, shit. I just lost track. Hold on. I got Sorry. Hold on. Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota. Oh, I don't think I said just Wisconsin. No. North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin doesn't touch it, but Michigan does. I think Ohio does. New York. Oh, it was 9?
Yeah.
Oh, it's way over. Yeah, it's way over.
Is that your final answer?
Oh, 100%.
It is over. The actual number of United States states that border Canada is 13.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't even have to count up because, Maine, New York, New Hampshire, Vermont. I didn't even add those in. Once I got to 10, I was like,
yeah, you're doing really well. I'm actually surprised.
Four for four, baby.
Well, lucky for you, I saved the tough questions for the end. So.
Oh, fuck.
No, I'm just kidding. Question number 5 is a sports-related question. Are you ready?
Oh, yes.
We're talking consecutive games played by the legend Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Is it over or under 2,880?
Oh, damn it. A number that popped in my head when you said that was 2,700 something. I don't know. I know it's in that range. It's like right there. For some reason, 2,700 something is sticking in my mind. You said it was 2,880?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my gut and say, well, here's the thing. Hold on. I'm curious if he broke the record at like 2,700 something, but then he kept playing and then maybe got into the 2,800s. Or if he broke the record and then was just like, okay, I broke the record. I'm going to not play anymore. I'm going to go with my gut. My initial answer, I'm going to say lower. I think it's in the 20s. I think it's 2,700 in that range.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, under.
It is under. The actual number is 2,632 consecutive games.
Oh, so I wasn't even right in the 27 range. Yeah, okay. So I knew that 2,800 sounded just a tad high. Yeah. I don't remember because I envision the big sign, the really iconic where they put it on the big old jumbotron in the, what's the Oriole Park's name? Camden Yards. Yeah. I remember the Camden Yards big giant like scoreboard having the big number up there, and I don't remember it having like a bunch of 8s in it. So. Right.
Well, so far so good. You're doing much better than I thought you were gonna do.
5 for 5. So I gotta get 1 out of the next 5 right.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I think I made these too easy. But your next question is also a sports question. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, I'm feeling really good right now.
Yeah, you're locked in. So here we go. Over or under? We're talking Dodgers World Series losses.
Oh shit.
Is it over or under 8?
Now, I'm assuming this is going to factor in the Brooklyn Dodgers as well, obviously the LA Dodgers.
Yes.
Oh crap! And this is just World Series losses.
Times that the Dodgers made the World Series and did not win a championship. Is it over or under 8?
Oh my goodness. Well, in our lifetime, they've made it twice and lost. I think the last time they won was in '88. See, what's tough is back when the Brooklyn Dodgers played, they didn't have 30-something odd teams playing each other. They only had, I couldn't even tell you how many teams were playing. So it's very likely that they went to the World Series a lot and lost the World Series a lot to the Giants or the Senators or whoever. I'm taking a shot in the dark here, just based off of the limited teams that played in the past. I like to think, because back then it was a big deal to win the pennant, but then to win the World Series was cool, but like to win the pennant was like the prestigious thing. So they always celebrate like, oh, the Dodgers won so many pennants back in the day, but I don't think they won a whole lot of World Series. I'm going to say it's over 8. Over.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
It is over 8.
Oh, yeah!
The actual number is 13.
Oh,
World Series
shit!
Losses.
Does it give the years on there at all or no?
No, I didn't bother looking.
Oh. Oh, baby.
But I'd
Dude,
imagine most of those. You're probably right. A lot of those are the Brooklyn Dodgers losing those championships.
that's the only reason why I picked over is
Yeah.
you hear so many times like the history, like, oh, they won the pennant, oh, they won the pennant, but it's like you never really talk about winning the World Series though a whole lot.
Yeah.
So hell, 6 for 6, baby. So I'm out of relegation. I mean, still ask me the 4 because I want to try to get all 10.
Yeah,
see how many I can get right.
We're definitely gonna burn through these, and I'll even go a step further. If you get all 10 right, I'll do an extra shot on top of that. So
all right, now I just want to make sure that people at home listening, this is just, I mean, I think half of it is me making decent enough guesstimations, but I did not know these questions ahead of time, so I'm very proud of myself right now. I'm actually pretty jacked.
And yeah, to be fair, this is a virtual conference between him and I. He's obviously in Phoenix. I'm up here in Seattle. And, to his credit, he's answering them pretty quickly. I don't think he's over there Googling on his phone. So,
Oh, no. I even have I've been talking with my hands, too. So you've seen my hands. I'm going to keep my hands in the air, too, for the rest of this. So I'm not screwing around.
Well, and you've been answering pretty quick, too. So I doubt you can, Google these questions, in 10 seconds. But we will move on to another sports question. Are you ready for question number 7?
Yeah. So the sports questions have actually been the hardest for me, which is you think I'd be a little bit more I would know for sure, but these have been the most difficult ones.
I did think that you were going to get the sports ones much easier than the other ones, but we'll move on to this one. This one we're talking no-hitters, and we're talking no-hitters specifically from the great Nolan Ryan. In his career, did he throw over or under 6 no-hitters?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. Oh, obviously he struck out more batters than anybody. I know that he threw no-hitters in his career, but I don't think he threw I don't think he threw over 6. I'm going to say under. I think it's only 3 or 4. I mean, again, just a dominant strikeout machine, but I don't think he's got a ton of no-hitters.
You're going with under. Is that your final answer?
Under 6, yes.
Oh, that is incorrect. It is over. Nolan Ryan,
7?
He actually threw 7 no-hitters in his career.
Oh, son of a bitch.
So I'm off the hook for my second shot, at least.
I feel like Nolan Ryan played on 32 teams.
Yeah.
So
even when there was only 30 teams in the league, he found a way to play on another team.
Yeah, somehow, some way. He went to Mexico or something. I don't know.
All right. Are you ready for question number 8?
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed. So I'm 6 for 7, which is still outstanding.
Very good.
But I am ready for 8. So I still got a chance to get 9 out of 10, which is an A in school, which I didn't get too many, but, based on this trivia, I could have fooled you.
Yeah. So this question is in regards to Vinny Testaverde.
Oh, God, testicles?
Yeah. Teams that Testaverde played for in his career.
No!
Is it over or under 8?
Oh, my God. I was just thinking in my head, it's got to be 7 or 8. And then you said 8. Oh, shit. Oh, dude. 9 just seems like way too many. But, dude, because he was a number 1 overall pick, wasn't he?
I think so.
The dude bounced around like a bouncy ball. Oh my gosh. 8. 8 was the number.
Over under 8, yes.
Oh, so did he play a 9 or more or 7 or less? I'm gonna say under. I think it's 7. I'm gonna say under. Final answer.
Final answer. It is 7.
Oh.
So it is under. Good job.
The only reason I didn't know that, I'm just bullshitting, but I remember back in the day, you Wikipedia players, he used to play in the Jets, and I used to Wikipedia and see who he played for in the past, and somewhere in my mind, 7 popped up. I don't know.
So Corbin is definitely the numbers guru. He's at 7 out of 8 right now. I'm very impressed. These are 50-50 questions, but to his credit, he's working through it. Are you ready for question number 9?
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to get away from the sports world for a minute, and we're going to talk about one of your favorite board games. We're talking properties on a Monopoly board.
Oh, man, okay.
Is it over or under 32?
Now, so I want to clarify, these are actual colored space properties.
Properties that you can buy.
Okay, but it's not like railroads or waterworks or
any property you can buy off the board. So it does include railroads. It does include utilities.
Oh, shit. Okay. So, oh, God. Okay. Okay, so if you roll a 10, you go from corner to corner. So there's 9 spots. Wait, right? Yeah, so there's 9 spots in between. So there's 36 spots in between the corners, and the corners are not properties. You either go to jail, free parking, just visiting jail, or you pass go. So there's 36 there. There is a waterworks and electric something, I think. It's electric company. So that's out of the 36. But then there's also chance and community chest, which I think there's only 2 spots on there that are chest and community chance. So that would put it at 32 if you include waterworks and railroads. I'm going to say, what was the over-under number?
32.
Well, I think it is 32. Okay, oh, no. It's less because there's property tax. It's less. There's 31 on there. Under, baby. Final answer.
It is under.
Is it 31?
The correct number is 28.
What? Oh, they can't be. Oh, then they're not counting the railroads then.
They are counting the railroads. So you had property tax. You have the property tax that's between Boardwalk and Park Place. You also have the property tax that's right after Go.
Oh, there's 2 property taxes.
Yeah.
Are there multiple chance and community chest, or just 1 and 1?
I think there's 2 and 2. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it is.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I counted myself.
Okay. Well, I still had a pretty decent reasoning. I was working through it.
Yeah, for sure. So you're 8 out of 9 going into the last question. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
All right. How many pints are in 1 gallon?
Oh, shit.
Is it over or under 6 pints?
Okay, so 6 pints. Can I use a calculator, or do I have to just do this all? Oh, fuck. Okay. Okay, so I believe a gallon is 128 ounces. A pint is 16 ounces. So you got 16, 32, 48. Oh, Jesus. 64. 80. I hope this math is right. 96. 112. What was the number?
Over under 6.
It's over. Over. Final answer.
It is over.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Actual number is 8.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. So Koenig is going to the cupboard to get his very familiar vodka. Is that your potato vodka? Fancy schman. Oh, it's Jameson. Is that Jameson?
It is Jameson.
Damn. So I went 9 for 10. What was the question that I missed again?
It was Nolan Ryan no hitters.
Ah, yeah. I think that was the absolute hardest question for sure. Was the Nolan Ryan one. The other ones I could process of elimination, and then there were a couple where I was shooting in the dark a little bit, but I feel like I knew most of them just by process of elimination.
You know, considering how hard we've been drinking in this show, I'm actually surprised that you were able to kind of reason your way through those as well as you did.
Hell yeah. When it comes to numbers, man, especially if you have a dollar sign in front of it, I got it.
Yeah, Corbin, for the 3rd week in a row, has dominated me in the unknown. So I will take my shot of punishment here in recognition of his superior mental abilities. So here we go.
Okay, well, let's not get carried away. I'm going to credit most of that to luck, but good sport on your end. I'm still going to drink this beer that I had in front of me, so I'm just not going to drink it all at once. I'm just going to slowly drink it. But yeah, that was fun. That was really good. Those are good questions. I mean, I know I got 9 out of 10, which, you know, seems like I knew the answers, but that was a lot more difficult than the result showed.
Yeah, to your credit, you worked your way. You were able to reason your way through most of those questions. Maybe I would have gone with some more sports questions, but I'll keep that in mind.
Those were the hardest. The sports questions were the hardest, especially you know, obviously I know who Cal Ripken is, but I'm not a huge Cal Ripken fan, so I don't know like exact like Iron Man numbers. And yes, like Nolan Ryan did pitch for like the Mets for a sliver of his career, but he also pitched for like 12 other teams, it seemed like. So those ones were tough just because I don't have I wasn't able to see those guys play live, so it's hard to kind of get into that.
Yeah, for sure. But that is all we have for you today on episode 4. If you did enjoy the show, make sure that you follow us on Spotify. Make sure you follow our new YouTube channel. We'll have YouTube videos coming to the channel very soon at Slightly Sideways Podcast. If you're on Twitter, you're on oldtwitter.com. You can give us a follow at Slightly Sideway. If you're on Facebook, you can follow us at Slightly Sideways Podcast. If you have any feedback for the show, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us all your thoughts about our program at slightlyssidewayspod@gmail.com. And of course, if you do miss our show, you can always catch up to speed with that on Spotify. You can find us at Slightly Sideways Podcast. I've been your host, Katie. It's been a great show. We've had a lot of fun recording it for you. We hope you've enjoyed it. Say goodnight to the people, Corbin.
To all my Swedes out there, good morning, and I hope you have a great day.
Good night, everyone.